welcome back to another honest review. Me here is always Holiday, aka Stefan JD, and with me as always as well is Jesse Chavez.
Ahoy hoy, how goes it, everybody?
And we're going to talk about the video game, obviously, Dead Space. I'm not sure if I made a forward before this covering the quick history or legacy of Dead Space, so I'm just going to say right now that this was the first game in the series. It's getting a remake very soon. And the lore, while very deep in the series, we probably won't be covering too much of that. This is Jesse's first experience playing the series, which I, forced him to do, of course.
Asshole.
And so that's basically our main focus of topic here today, is just the first game in the series. I'm going to actually give it over to Jesse by asking this opening question. Were you excited to play this when you started playing it? Did it weigh heavy on you? Like, what did it give you the survival horror emotions you needed to want to play it at the beginning?
Well, honestly, it scratched a lot of the right itches. It sits in that weird niche for me between old survival horror and new survival horror, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I mean, if anyone doesn't know by now, Jesse and I both come from the early days of survival horror with Resident Evil. We go way back, but when Dead Space was even announced, I mean, I was hyped for this game. This was the type of game that I needed at the time because I had just, beaten Resident Evil 4. I had actually beat Code Veronica not too long before that because I had kind of missed it on the Dreamcast, and I had a PS2. So on the heels of those games, I needed the new survival horror game that was going to fill that, and because I couldn't afford Left 4 Dead specifically at the time, this game
classic.
Yeah, this game was optional. For me, Dead Space in the end is a true classic survival horror game, in the fact that, yes, it does force you to do those the stock on how much ammo you have, how to use it.
Resource management is key,
right? And not even only on the resources, but what's at your disposal, like using the stasis powers in this to slow enemies down. Just overall picking up things and shooting it at enemies, the little diverse things that it adds to this game, and makes the combat a little bit more unique in that sense. But yeah, overall, I mean, when I got my hands on this, it was pretty much love at first sight. And I want to say that's usually the case with survival horror games, unless they're just really bad. Like Martian Gothic would be a good example of that on PS1.
The only reason I wish I played that is just so I could specifically make Martian Gothic jokes this entire episode. So I apologize to everyone. I'm a little behind on the material.
Yeah, it's an awful game, but Dead Space itself, in my opinion, is a true classic, and because they're making a remake of it, I think that even serves the point even further, that this game was a high note during a dry spell of survival horror games, at least in my world, because I was also kind of poor.
Yeah, I mean, samesies. I just want to interrupt for a quick second. It's really funny you brought up Resident Evil 4 earlier, because I heard a little rumor, and I don't know if you've heard the same thing or not. Apparently there was a whole different version of this game, and after Resident Evil 4 came out, they ended up going back to the drawing board and retooling a lot of stuff for it to try to adapt it and make it a little bit more like RE4 in terms of its mechanics and system. Have you heard anything like that?
That's true. I think not only, and I think one of them says it in an interview, maybe as the creator or somebody, but they all just looked at Dead Space. They all looked at Resident Evil 4 and were just like, oh, okay, yeah, we like that very much. Let's ape it.
And you can definitely see the influence in the game. I think the most noticeable, in your face thing, of course, being the shop system of being able to buy resources and being able to I don't want to say barter because you're dealing with a computer, not a flasher in a trench coat, but like
Mhm.
like an actual like you instead of finding weapons, you find like vouchers or I should say schematics that are just like, oh yeah, you want this gun, take this and redeem it at the store, and you'll be able to buy it.
Yeah, it does share that quality. I thought you were going to say its biggest quality, which to me is the game changer at that time for survival horror, which is the over-the-shoulder view.
Oh no, that was Resident Evil 4 set the standard on that one. Yeah, I mean that was the other evident one. I was just saying the one that smacked me in the face was the shop. But yeah, you're right, the over the shoulder camera. It's amazing at just how fast that kind of became like the new industry standard after RE4 implemented it. I don't know if there were any games that did it before. I'm sure, there'll be
Maybe
someone in the comments and be like, actually.
the biggest thing about this game and isn't even really its story, I have to say, because the setup of Isaac Clarke just going to get his wife back from the darkened hallways of the Ishimura. I mean, that's not really what got me excited for it. What got me excited was the actual enemies of the game. Like, what the fuck are these mutated things with spiky limbs, like lurking around in the dark and in vents and crawling around and shit and looking creepy as hell? That's what actually got me into it. It wasn't that Isaac's there trying to find his wife. As far as I think anyone was concerned, she's fucking dead. There's no way she's going to be the Newt in this Alien story.
Should we put it a spoiler alert right now, or should we?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you guys haven't played the game yet and you're worried about spoilers, like maybe tune out, play the game, come back. I called it. I so fucking called it. His girlfriend was dead the entire time, and I hate that I figured it out as early as I did. I mean, I thought that maybe I missed something in the first two chapters because you remember I was asking you, like, so his girlfriend's dead, right? Like,
Right.
he's not supposed to be, because she's talking really weird to him. Like, she's just like, make us whole again, Isaac, make us whole. I was like, that's fucking ghost / hallucination talk if I've ever heard it.
And her name is Nicole, and she does die in a prelude comic book. Well, there's two ways you can see the prelude story to this, how the Ishimura gets taken over. One way, read the comic book graphic novel, which has amazing art in it. And then they did an actual animated version of each singular panel with voice acting as well of that graphic novel that you get if you beat the whole entire game of the Wii version of Dead Space Extraction. So somebody uploaded that to YouTube, so you can just watch it on there. You don't have to beat the fucking game. But there are two ways to look at that. Basically, the setup for Dead Space, though, because we are talking about this, is that humanity discovered something called the Marker. It was a fragment on Earth that drove people crazy, and they started killing each other. And then what the markers do, and nobody knows how they're created, they're just flying through space, taking over worlds and changing them, creating Dead Space, basically. That's
Oh my god, that's brilliant.
Roll credits. So nobody knows what created them. Basically what they do is they're going through space. The markers actually send out a signal on their ancient carvings to the people that makes them start hallucinating, committing suicide, getting paranoia, keeping them sleep deprived, stuff like that, so that when they die, it can take the dead flesh and mutate it into what the enemies are that you're fighting in the video game. And it wants to do this thing where it takes all that flesh and it kind of creates its own moon of flesh, its own like world of flesh, and essentially basically like creates Dead Space. That's literally it. That's its whole mission, is to kill anything, mutate it, create this Dead Space. In the third game, even, you go to the first planet that was attacked by the marker, the original black marker, and I'm not going to get into the whole story, but that this is part of the backstory.
Yeah, don't spoil it, because I have no idea what happens beyond the first game, and I do want to actually play that.
You go to the third game takes place on the first planet where it's an ice world, and the reason it's an ice world is because the aliens that got attacked by the marker, and the same shit happened to them that happens to humans, they freeze over it to stop the event from happening, basically the event horizon, because that's essentially what this video game is based off of. And so that's what's going on in the video game. And to me, the idea of a marker being able to control dead bodies through like some sort of signal, it almost kind of reminds me of like Body Snatchers and The Thing, so like Event Horizon, so many other survival horror things, that the culmination of them to make this is just, it's actually kind of weird. Like the ideas of the backstory are more weird to me than cool, but I'm actually down for that.
Feels like the bastard love child of Lovecraft and Geiger right there.
Yeah, that's essentially it.
I enjoyed the aesthetic of the game. I like the settings. The Ishimura is very dingy, dirty. Like it feels like something like it could easily pass for like the set of Alien 3. I really appreciate, I don't know how many sci-fi survival horrors we got outside of, some terrible examples like Martian Gothic. But I really enjoyed how the game manages to be more than just a biohazardous incident. Like, would it be fair to say like this marker, like it kind of fits on the supernatural scale just a bit? Because honestly, I still I had a hard time making heads or tails exactly of what the hell was going on, like the entire time I was playing. Like there were parts where it's like, it sounds like it's a space virus.
Well, to me, it's kind of like an alien technology that's doing its job correctly, but like to us, it's a horrible nightmare.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's like we created this like terrible thing to go kill anything in its way in the universe that it runs into. We don't know how it was created. It was created by something, and it keeps replicating itself to create more dead space. So in a way, whatever created it is conquering like universes and planets, and it's conquering space and doing its job by killing everything without there actually being a war. We just don't know what created it. So it's like, I don't know, it's just weird alien technology. But I mean, the supernatural bits would be like the hallucinations, maybe, that it instills in its victims.
It's a very weird mix because I'm so used to, I guess I'm very binary with the thought, because like with me, Resident Evil and Silent Hill example, Silent Hill of course airs very much on the supernatural aspect. There is a psychological element to it, but a lot of it is dark magic, gods, shit like that. And then you have Resident Evil, where it's it's literally viruses and mentally unhinged people who are put in positions of power that shouldn't be.
Yeah. Why do we keep losing? All these people are insane we hire. We keep hiring more.
Yeah. Let's put the cross-dresser on an isolated prison island. I'm sure he's fine. His sister died. Oh well, they're twins. They couldn't have been that close. But with Dead Space, it's that interesting junction between science fiction horror and psychological elements to it, because I really do feel like Isaac's mental state just like deteriorates over the course of the game. Like he just gets more and more erratic in what he sees. I had a hard time trusting a lot of what I was seeing. I mean, outside of Nicole, who again, we all obviously knew was dead.
Yeah.
But like I started wondering, as like, is this actual flesh covering the wall, or is Isaac imagining this right now? Because other people seem pretty fucking chill about the surroundings. I wouldn't be.
Yeah. Sadly, Isaac is of course a mute character in this game. He gets a personality in the second game, which, I love Isaac. I think he's a great character. He's very one note, but that's okay, because he's one note in the way that works for what's going on in the story, the game. I mean, I think the things I take away mostly from this first game, the like setup of the universe inside of this ship works very well. Like seeing the aliens like do the same thing you'd see in Alien, which is like they start like putting their fungus all over the walls. They're taking over the air filters to kill more people as they're being directed by the marker to do so. Essentially just hunting, and that's what I love most about the game is that they're out there just hunting, trying to kill everything for the marker.
It's a very interesting dynamic because it's not just good guys and bad guys. I mean, there's a lot of bad guys. I don't really think there's really almost any of the cast that's actually good outside of maybe Isaac. A group of people that follow a very strange religion that's centered around this marker in the first place.
Right.
But they're not the only people you can't trust. Then there's another faction of people, and I guess I won't spoil who's attached to that one. But let me know if I'm right with this. Mm-hmm. So the person, one of the people who betrays you at the end of the game, they wanted the marker for military purposes. Like, am I right in assuming that? Like, I figured like this marker is a valuable tool. We want to use it for. It's not even the original marker. It's a fucking replica that was built by man.
Right. Yeah, because the replicas are the red ones and the originals are the black ones, and which are more ominous, obviously. But yes, she wants to use it for a military thing, which is very aliens. The Unitologists, which is the religion, are celebrating it because they think that's what created man, which they are 100% wrong.
Oh, religion, a very dangerous thing in the wrong hands.
Yeah. You're right. It is a weird dynamic in that everyone is trying to screw over everyone, thinking that the markers are going to bring them something better. But the truth is that all they're there for is just to destroy
death.
Fucking everything. Yeah, literally death.
All they bring is death and destruction.
You never created life. It's men like you that built the atom bomb.
Wait, Stefan. We need to be a little more practical about this discussion.
The downside to the first game, because there are a couple detriments to it in my mind's eye, is that, I mean, you're essentially going from point A to point B, like by Hammond and the girl, I forget her name.
Kendra
telling you, like, hey, you're a mechanic, like, you're a dude who fixes shit. Yeah, go fix this, go fix that, go fix this.
I don't believe for a goddamn second Isaac would have been silent through all of that.
Well, Isaac's out here risking his life, seeing hallucinations, by the way, of his dead wife and trying to, get the ship. He literally gets the whole entire ship running on his own labor.
I'm surprised he doesn't just like fucking get the engines going and just like, fuck it, I'm gonna crash this whole thing into the planet, solve everybody's problem right now.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest detriments to the game for me, is that you're essentially on a quest to fix everything.
An errand boy.
Yeah, you are the errand boy. There's a little drama between Hammond and Kendra, and the game leads you to believe that Hammond is there to screw you guys over, but it turns out that it was actually Kendra, which is what Chavez was referring to at the end. She tries to steal the marker for the company for her military weapon, but it's so satisfying when she gets smashed by the final boss.
Just thwacked around. I mean, I can't tell if it's satisfying because it's like, there, you can't ask me to fucking fix anything else, or if it's just like, okay, because she's really fucking cocky. Like, sorry, Isaac, guess I outsmarted you. And I'm like, the only reason I did what you asked is because the game won't fucking progress if I don't. So fuck you.
She changes really quickly in her character, but I remember being, when I first played it, I remember thinking, like, you know what? Fuck you. And then you find out that her ship gets sucked back into the Ishimura, the ship you're about to leave on.
Yeah, because the Nicole hallucination tells you, like, hit the shuttle retrieval. And you're like, oh, yeah, and just make her come back.
Because the marker doesn't want to, like, leave. It wants to finish its job. So it's using Nicole, this hallucination of Nicole, to tell Isaac to get the ship back there because it needs to finish doing the event that it was planning to do.
Which was to kill the planet.
Yeah, and there's, like, this thing it does where, like, it's... I read up on it. I'm sorry, I don't remember, but it's like something... There's some sort of event it does, a cataclysmic event where it basically finishes the last step in what it's supposed to do, and then like just remains for the next occupant to come, and it'll restart again.
Before I forget, because if I don't say this, people might get upset. Fun fact, did you realize the first letter of each chapter spells out Nicole is dead?
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, for real, look it up. But if you take the first letter of each chapter title, it spells out Nicole is dead. I heard that, and I was just like, oh, cool. I mean, I didn't really need the hint to tell me that, because again, I figured it out like a third into the game, but cool.
I mean, originally when I played it, my hope was that she was alive, because that would be a more, I think, fulfilling like ending to the game, is that, oh no, she is alive and I can save my wife,
Oh no, the game very much gives me that nihilistic, like everything is bleak feel. Like there is no happiness to be found here.
Right.
It's weird because I was actually caught by the twist in Silent Hill Shattered Memories, but this one I saw just like coming from a mile away.
It definitely doesn't do as good a job of hiding the fact that Nicole's dead, in my opinion. Or I should say our opinion.
Talk about the game as a whole for a sec. The combat is fun. It's not the clunkiest aspect of it, although I will say there is a steep learning curve. You really have to learn to maximize not only all your actual abilities, but your weapons, because there's a lot of guns to pick from, and none of them are really a one size fits all, with maybe the exception of the plasma cutter, because it is a powerhouse once you get it like maxed out.
Best gun in the game.
It really is your starter pistol. Who would have guessed? Story wise, I get the limitations, because honestly, the way they do it, like a lot of your interactions with Hammond and Kendra, they're never in person. They're all like over, like most of them are over video calls, and of course they're making it sound like they're going through hell too. Like I wish I could say they were sitting in an office the entire time, but I think they're actually supposed to be also going around different parts of the ship as well on their own thing. You would have thought they would have made it like a separate DLC or something.
It is EA. I'm surprised that didn't happen.
Yeah. I can't get a cell signal here. Can you like fix the jammer?
And then figure out the Wi-Fi password?
Yeah, it's not space is cool 6969, so I really need you to like figure it out.
It's Nicole is dead.
Oh shit. Like at some point in the game, I do wish there were some more recurring characters, maybe more people from the Ishimura itself, not like with the crew you come in that you interact with, because like everyone, I think just about everyone you come across who was already there when you arrived, they're on the brink of a mental breakdown or they're dying or both.
Well, I know when you enter the medical area, medical labs,
there's a doctor who's like sobbing over a corpse.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that commit suicide, or they die, or they're like right on the brink of death and die. And then there's like a mad doctor who helped like cultivate this undefeatable xenomorph. No matter how many times you shoot off its limbs and shit, it keeps coming after you. It's a
regenerator.
There's an RE character like that too, isn't there?
Yes, also called Regenerator.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. That boss, Stefan, I complained to him at one point. I was just like, fuck chapter 5. Because I didn't have enough ammo or health or anything. So I had to like taking him on by himself, not too much of a problem. It's when they decide, this is one of my other griefs with the game. Their idea of a boss fight is to have a tank essentially, but then also bombard you with all these fucking enemies, which on their own are cool to fight, but like all together take the cheapest fucking shots at you. Like they nip, hit, bite, slap, shoot. There's so many of them that have like fucking turrets for tentacles, and they're just like shooting at you from a distance. It's so it kind of crosses the line from like, this is a fun challenge to, no, this is just really fucking annoying.
Personally for me, that was my favorite part of the game, just because it was so unexpected. Like Like, I did not expect an enemy, a regenerator, to be the point of chapter 5. Like, you're not even halfway through the game and they're already throwing this at you. So it really does add to the momentum that this game really needs, because it's essentially, like we said, the same thing. Go here, fix the thing, the little puzzles, whatever it is. But I feel like it needed that momentum to keep you going. It's like, oh God, well, if this is on chapter 5, what's coming, on chapter 6 or any other, chapter after this?
I don't know, like a pursuer type enemy, I'm not opposed to it. I love me some Mr. X, but
Right.
I just, again, like when I feel like oh shit. Sorry, hold on, cut for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Small earthquake.
Oh, snap.
Making sure it's not going to progress to a bigger one. Power outage. Okay, I think we're okay. If I randomly drop from the call, I'm probably dead. Anyway, I mean, I love a pursuer type boss. I mean, I love me some Mr. X. I really hate the idea of being bombarded with a lot of cheap shots. Like it kills it personally. It kills the enjoyment for me. Like I feel like if you're gonna go through the trouble to have an enemy like that, make it so that they're the singular foe. Don't just send a bunch of bitches to like nip at you and fight you and distract you and throw your attention off, because it just feels cheap to me. It's like, oh, how do we make this a bunch of enemies coming from the vents? Yeah, suck it, deal with that. It doesn't work for me personally.
And I could see that. I know a lot of people just didn't play RE2 Remake, or they didn't like it, or RE8 because of the pursuer characters that can't be killed, like Mr. X and Lady D. But
Oh, that's fucking nothing compared to this game.
yeah, and I understand that. I get the gripe about it. Personally, for me, I think at the time it just worked for me. If I played it now, without knowing that was going to happen, maybe I'd feel differently. But at the time, I was just like, yes, this is creeping me out. This is what I need. It's putting me back on my toes after, getting so used to taking down all these xenomorphs that it was a welcome treat. But I could see people not liking it.
When you have an enemy that's pursuing, that part's fine. The tension from like the constant like chasing, it's just you have to be really careful when you're throwing other enemies in the mix. Like in Resident Evil 2, seldomly do you have Mr. X and zombies in the same pathway. Although it is fun when you do, because he'll actually, punch him out of the way. Like, move, bitch.
Yeah, gives two shits about it. He's like a Terminator.
Exactly.
Hey, I think I saw that kid over there.
I'm just imagining him randomly in the Raccoon police station.
Hey, that guy in the trench coat's scoping you out, Leon.
Thanks, random teenager I befriended.
Better bail. But yeah, this is one of those games where you either love it or hate it, and I can understand anyone having a gripe with it. So I'm not going to hold it to anyone that,
It just feels a little rough, like kind of unfinished in a way.
Aside from the regenerator, though, because aside from like the xenomorphs themselves, there's very few enemies that stick out, but until you get to the second game, of course. But the other one that stuck out to me that was a good lead up and reminded me of Plant 42 from Resident Evil was the big thing you fight in 0G in the air ventilation shaft, I think it is.
Oh, the giant asshole with tentacles. I don't know what its actual name is, but
yeah, because it's a boss where you're picking up files and audio clips of people talking about this thing, like, there's 3 people in whatever lab, and it went in there and it pulled them and ate them through the vents or something, and it's building up this character or this enemy, I should say, that like it did the same thing for me in Resident Evil, where they're talking about Plant 42. It went crazy. It's stuck in this room over here in this area, and you're like, oh, room 102, that's the bad room or whatever. And so when you hit that area, you're like, what the thing they're talking about, it's behind this fucking door and I have to go through it, you know? And this game does the same exact thing. And I just loved that. I loved the lore lead up to it where it's building up that, yeah, there's a huge fucking thing in here and you're about to go fight it, you know?
Yeah, I think that's actually one of my favorite boss fights. I died the first time just because like I had a hard time aiming, and I think by the time I got to that boss fight, it was like 3 a.m, and I probably should have just went to bed and then tried it when I was more alert.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I'd say that was probably one of the best uses of the zero G dynamic, and I really love how the boss arena, you basically you just walk on walls. You're like it's like a constant rotation,
It's
and
cool, right?
yeah, I've never been in an experience like that in survival horror before. It was very well done, very ominous, very threatening. I will say though, again, plan your resources out. Make sure you have enough ammo to take it on. There's canisters floating around to explode, but the kinesis ability is a bit tricky. Like I feel like the aim is never quite as exact as you want it to be, and you have to be very impeccable with your timing.
Really makes you work for the ammo. And like when I was talking to Chavo about like, you know, what weapons he should stick with, and then you get other weapons, and yeah, they're fun to dick around with, but personally for me, they're useless. I always say stick with the line gun so you could kill those little fuckers that throw shit at you and they have the tentacles that shoot out of their back. You can just knock those fuckers right out. You don't have to worry about them. And then the plasma cutter as well, because it's like a backup line gun, but it's also, to me, the best weapon in the game.
I wish I would have used the line gun. I had the Ripper, the flamethrower, the plasma cutter, pulse rifle.
Plasma,
It was
yeah, the
the
pulse rifle.
because I wanted to go aliens. Could just game over, man.
Let's rock.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on my inner Vasquez there and just go nuts.
But yeah, I mean, sticking with the plasma cutter and the line gun is always my choice. I'm trying to think, like, did you get scared or jump scares or anything? Did anything freak you out? Was anything creepy to you in the survival horror aspect of the game?
Tension. I felt a lot of constant tension, but I don't think I can say I was like genuinely like fuck
Right.
yeah. I think there might have been some slight jumps. Maybe I think one of the times when I was playing while we were talking, there was an enemy that surprised me, but again, nothing where I was like nothing that was on the level of the hand hallway in Resident Evil 2 for me.
Okay. For me, I think it's this point in my life because I've grown up with survival horror since I was like 10 years old. I'm pretty much at the point where it's like you're really gonna have to like do something drastic to shock me. Like, I mean, some cases like things will surprise me just because they're a surprise. Like, I remember when I was playing Resident Evil 7 on Madhouse, like I thought I'd lost Jack, and so I was like looking for the antique coins, and then like you didn't hear him walk in. He was just right behind me. He's like, "Hey, son," or whatever I'm like, "Whoa, okay, fucker."
Yeah, Resident Evil 7, I think, was one of the last games to really get me in terms of like fear and tension. Like that game truly was a return to form. I will say Alien Isolation also probably still
Oh
gets.
God,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's fucking Dead Space cranked up to 50.
Yeah, and if anything, that's like the scarier game. I mean, I would have to take breaks when I first played it because the tension, it wasn't even. I mean, part of it was fear, but most of it was just the tension of the fucking alien. It's like, oh, where is it? You know?
The soundtrack for that one really lends to it as well. It's just like a never ending, like it's subtle. It's very subtle, but it's there, and it just kind of keeps you dialed up waiting for that next attack. And then it gets even worse once the working Joes start getting involved.
Yeah. Yeah, man. We're gonna have to talk about that game at some point. But yeah, Dead Space to me is a true classic survival horror game. I mean, overall, it's just like It's a lot of in your face action. It's a lot of tension, but I wouldn't put it up there as one of the scariest games in the genre. It's definitely more action oriented than it's trying to scare you. The lights are on for most of the time, and when they're not, it's it kind of lets you know, hey, enemies are coming.
5 cheesy writing, I guess. All right.
Yeah. But is there anything else you want to say about Dead Space? I mean, like I said, it's a great survival horror game, but in my opinion, not a scary one.
Like I said towards the beginning, solid experience. Definitely has its growing pains and clunkiness to it. I am looking forward to playing Dead Space 2 eventually to see if anything kind of improves in the next one in terms of hopefully both combat and storytelling.
Yeah, it's the better
I,
game.
I would like to see more characters. Again, even if they all end up like, even if Isaac ends up being the sole survivor again, that's fine. But like, I need more people to kind of drive the story forward. I can't really stand it when it's just mainly this mute that's carrying 80% of the game and just nothing to go off of. I mean, I'll take it over. What the hell? What the hell? But like, looking at you, Ethan Winters, you fucking milquetoast, bland, fucking unfrosted Pop Tart. But like, again, it's probably just a me thing. But I need character to drive things, you know.
Right, right. Yeah, that's the detriment to this first game is that you only got Kendra and Hammond, and then you got a crazy guy you find later, but like he's not. I wouldn't really consider him like a big character of the game. And then you got the xenomorphs and the people that commit suicide, the evil doctor, your visions of Nicole. I mean, you really are alone.
I need more motivation, in terms of like Nicole calling for help, or I'd say like, isn't it, what is it, like over halfway into the game she starts helping you by like unlocking doors and stuff. I wish the game did more of that, where instead of it's just constantly hearing from Hammond and Kendra, it's like Nicole, like, hey, like, we're together, we're a team in this, I'm helping you, I'm getting you through this section, just find me, please find me,
Right. It's a good start. It's like Resident Evil had that terrible voice acting and stuff, but it was still charming. There was something to it. And I think the same can be said about the first Dead Space game. Isaac's a mute. The reason you're there isn't really I mean, it's like so obvious his wife isn't fucking alive. And, it's okay because the game is still a damn good survival horror game. I wouldn't put it in the same league as Resident Evil. But it's served its purpose. It's a great horror game, and I recommend everyone play it. I don't know. What about you, Chava?
I definitely recommend it if you feel like you need a break from a lot of the modern survival horror tropes.
But thanks everyone for listening. Thanks, Chavo, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And we will catch you next time. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel. The channel is growing very rapidly right now. I just the other day we were at 100 subscribers. Now, as of this recording, it's like 125, 126.
Ooh.
So it's moving along. These honest reviews and the close looks at the comic books and stuff are kind of the thing we do to I don't want to say pad the channel, but to give different material to the channel for people who strictly don't want to talk about comic books. We talk about movies. There's more honest reviews on the channel, plenty of them. We talk about what was the last one we talked about? Brain Scan.
Yes.
That was a great episode. It's probably my favorite honest review episode, along with the Sega sound card. And then we talked about Ghostbusters Afterlife, Resident Evil movie, Resident Evil Netflix show. I mean, there's a lot on the channel, so don't be afraid to go click on them and listen because they're there.
Don't forget to mention the Evil Dead one, and I say that strictly because you made me fucking suffer through that. So
Yeah.
there needs to be some benefit from it.
Yeah, and it's there, and that one's also a fun one because it was a blast from the past of the PS2 era Evil Dead game that, at the time I really admired, and then we had some different thoughts on it later. But
I'm gonna get you
thanks
for
everyone for listening, and we'll let you go. But yeah, have a good night, everyone, or a good day.
that. Later.
Brace yourselves. He's gonna smash us into the hull.
I think it's me. It's all falling apart here.
Hey, Isaac. You coming? Where is everybody? Up there! No!
This transformation, it's remarkable. Don't you want to be reunited with the people you lost? Our homecoming will be truly divine.
There's still a way out for us. But we don't have much time.